The world is in constant motion, and you have places to go. Enterprise has more.
It's the final match of the National Football Tournament selection, and the team that wins the game will head to the tournament and further their dreams of becoming professional athletes. In the final moments of the game, Isagi gets the ball from his teammates and is one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Isagi and his team are down 1-0, and this goal would mean that they can send the game into extra time and hopefully win it. However, Isagi remembers that football is not a one-man game. His eyes wander to his teammate, who's in a better position than him, and with the words of his coach in his mind, Isagi decides to pass the ball. His teammate, however, misses. The ball then rebounds to an opposing player, who plays a long pass to the striker, Kida. The boy takes the ball and slams it into the net, giving his team a 2-goal cushion and, more importantly, winning the game. Isagi is devastated. He can't think straight anymore. One more year wasted, being an average player on an average team, and he didn't even make the nationals. He heads back home, head bent toward the ground. The next day, however, Isagi receives a letter from Japan's National Sports Committee offering him a chance at becoming a professional athlete, an invitation to join one of their training facilities. Despite being unsure of his abilities, making him reluctant to go to the facility, Isagi heads there the next day. On the way, he meets Kida, who was also called to the same location. The two acquaint themselves, and Isagi finds Kida to be a really decent person who believes in the true nature of football. Kida is not only a good footballer, but also a great human being. The two head in and find that there are several other players inside, waiting to find out why they were called to this place, and by whom. Looking around, Kida recognizes tons of great center forwards, including Okawa, Ishikari, and the Messi of Aomori. Actually, the whole place is filled with only strikers, which amuses them. Suddenly, a strange man enters the stage before them and introduces himself as Jinpachi Igo, the man who will create a perfect striker from among them, who will bring a World Cup to Japan. Igo explains that this place, where they were all summoned, is the Blue Lock facility, and all 300 of them will compete with each other here for the next few months, and one among them will become the striker who will bring Japan to glory. Every one of the players disagrees with Igo's ideal. Football isn't a one-man game, and scoring goals isn't the only important thing. However, Igo gives examples of all the greatest players, Eric Cantona, Pele, and the Japanese sensation Noah, who have all claimed to be the best and that only they matter. He states their egos make them the best in the world and challenges the players if they have the guts to become someone like them. Isagi is frustrated with his life as an average player and not being able to shine. Moreover, he lacked the ego to take the shot in the game earlier, which cost him a place in the nationals. Upon hearing Igo's words, he's the first to lunge towards Blue Lock. Soon after, almost all the players join in. Isagi is then handed an outfit and is assigned a room in which he must spend the rest of his days at Blue Lock. In the same room, he notices Kida and a few others as well. Each of the players is assigned a number on their outfits. Isagi's number is 299Z. After the players have finished changing their outfits, a huge screen lights up before them, and Igo shows up. Igo explains that based on their abilities, they have all been ranked and labeled on their uniform. They can all play better and improve their ranks based on their progression in Blue Lock. However, there will be tests along the way, and players will be eliminated. Eliminated players will never play for Japan at the national level in their lives, and only the top 5 players will be able to be a part of the upcoming U20 World Cup. Before the news could cause any uproar, a ball appears in the room, and Igo puts them to their very first test. With 136 seconds on the board, Igo tells them to play a game of tag. The last person with the ball by the end of that time will be eliminated from the room. The game begins with the lowest ranking player, Igarashi, who wastes no time getting into it. He has only one thing on his mind, tagging the player closest to his ranking, Isagi. However, Igarashi lacks skills and is unable to tag anyone until he notices a sleeping player, Bachida. Just as he's about to smash the ball into Bachida, The boy gets up and kicks Igarashi. Another player, Kunagami, goes to argue with Bachida for not playing fair, and Igarashi slyly uses this opportunity to tag Kunagami instead. Enraged, Kunagami strikes the ball at Igarashi, but the ball hits Isagi. With 1 minute remaining, Isagi is now it, and he chases the others around. Isagi too finds it very difficult to tag anyone else, and his chances of a career are slipping away. Suddenly, Igarashi slips. This is the chance that Isagi was waiting for, but suddenly he stops. Something tells him that if he's going to win, he needs to do it properly and eliminate someone of a higher rank than him. Isagi turns around, and out of nowhere, Bachida lunges at him and takes the ball away, charging at Kida. Kida tries to run away. However, instead of shooting, Bachida passes to Isagi. With only a couple of seconds remaining, Isagi's feet move on their own, and he slams the ball into Kida's face. The round comes to an end. Kida is eliminated. When the buzzer beeps, Kida is outraged. At first, he can't believe that Isagi did such a thing, but then the ego within him starts to show, and he starts boasting that he's a better player than anyone and needed to stay. The elimination was unfair, as the time given was very short, and that this drill has nothing to do with actual football. Ego then shows up to clear the enraged man's misconceptions. He states that the area they are playing in is the same size as a penalty area, and the amount of time given to them is, in fact, the average time that a normal player would get the ball in a regular game. Ego states that Kida was eliminated because of his own incompetencies, and it was not Isagi's fault. Kida marches out of the place, giving Isagi the stink eye. Isagi, having ended the career of a really decent person, feels ecstatic. He asks Bachida why he passed to him at such a moment. Bachida smiles, telling him that he knew he would eliminate Kida. Ego then announces their journey had finally begun in Blue Lock. The 11 players in each of the rooms were now each other's teammates, and also each other's rivals.
Have you ever played a game where the more players you kill, the stronger you become? The Stark mobile game, known as the Player's Nightmare, will change your view of MMORPG. You start in the wilderness with no guidance, no quests, meeting only a weapon, the Killing Sword. Your need to continuously kill mobs and players to strengthen the Killing Sword. Each monster increases its attack by 10 points, and each player boosts it by 100 points. All equipments and materials can be obtained from farming mobs or directly looted from players, since dying drops all your equipment. You will also become someone else's prey. High-level players killing swords are the common target for everyone. The competition for the Killing Sword can spark massive battles, lasting for months. Do you have the guts to try on this game?
I must protect the forest.
I'm always ready for a fight. My magic will protect us.
To battle!
Not all cookies can become heroes.
Elsewhere, Japan's football board is briefed by Henri. She's the one who had proposed the Blue Lock program and really wants Japan to be a dominant footballing force in the world. The board doesn't really approve of the ideas, but they know that if this fails, all the blame will be put on Henri, so they agree. Back at the Blue Lock facility, training finally begins, and Isagi is already overwhelmed. All of his team members exceed him in skills in almost every aspect of the game. He's so average when it comes to his skills compared to the others. The very first night, he can't sleep, thinking about his lack of ambition and skills, and decides to head out for a late-night practice session. Isagi comes across Bachida, who wants to practice with him too, so both of them head to their assigned field. During practice, Isugi once again asks Bachida the actual reason why he passed to him during the first test. And this time, Bachida tells him that just like all the famous players in the world, Messi, Ronaldo, he too has a monster in him that tells him what to do during the game, and it just so happened that the monster told him to pass to Isugi at that moment. Bachida tells Isugi that since he knew he had a monster in him too, he passed the ball, and Isugi did as he predicted and eliminated Kira. Isugi wonders if he really has a monster in him. Suddenly, an announcement from Ego sends them back to their rooms. Ego says that their rankings have been updated and that they were now ready for the next stage of the tournament. Isugi is now ranked 274. The man then explains that the whole facility is divided into 25 teams, a total of 275 players, after the elimination of one from each of the teams earlier on. If the players perform well and improve their rank, they'll get better facilities at Blue Lock, and the lower-ranked players will have to suffer their consequences. Also, now the teams would be facing an actual game. The games would be played among 5 teams, and each team would be playing against all the other teams. The 2 best teams would be safe from elimination, while the lowest 3 would be removed from the facility, losing the possibility to play for Japan ever again. But among the losing teams, the top scorers would be able to stay. Elsewhere, a really arrogant player named Itachi is being interviewed on his return back to Japan.
amateur.